Hey builders, I've been talked into doing a quick tutorial on some of my weathering techniques. So I've got the scrubber here, and it's a perfect opportunity to show some of the effects that I use. And we'll just start out with the outlining of all the inset lines and stuff, so that it really makes your models pop. So you can see all the different definitions of your parts. And on this side, you can see I haven't started that yet. The base color I use is just a Rust-Oleum on this. I did use the 2K primer on the bottom, and I went through a couple of different processes on that to end up getting the smooth finish on the Droid instead of having the textured finish of the original Action Packer. Then for the weathering, I'm going to be using just some cheap oils. I really like this color, or this brand. The oils are really thick and not runny, so it really helps out on getting in places and not rubbing it off through the process as I go through it. And that's just one of the little tubes of the oils there. So usually just open it up, get a piece of paper, squirt it out. I actually like to do that because, as you can see, it does away, the paper soaks up the oils. And that helps it dry a little bit quicker on your model. So for this particular Droid, I'm using the burnt sienna, and then a black, and then just a dark green, and I've got some white, just in case I want to mix in if it gets too dark. And all right, so we will go through. So what I like to do first is I like to get a brown layer on, depend on the model color you're working with, and just lay a good thick line in. And this has got some black in it too from previously. But if you get the brown and the black, you end up creating two layers inside that area. And then when you rub it off, you can see the brown and the black kind of meld together, and then the brown gets left on, and then the black gets left darker in the cracked area or in the seam. And then this you can just layer as you want, and just think about how the oils or the dirt would have laid in that particular zone, and you can come out a little bit more in this area just so you don't end up with something that looks too uniform. And then we'll continue around the side. Now you can see more of just the brown there from where the black's running out in that brush. That's what I like about the oils, is that you don't have to wait for them to dry like the water-based paints. So with that brown being there, then I can just come back and pick up some of the black and put that right on top of that, and it just melds right into that other color. If you can get close, I mean, you can actually see the brown is right on the outside, and you can see the black is textured more in on the inside. Alright, and we'll just continue that. So like on this inside, I would grab a little bit of green, brown, and some black, and then I'll get all of that in this zone. Just, you can cover it completely. You're probably like, why is he doing that? So we'll take, and then we can wipe off what we don't want and leave the big caked area in the back. And then we'll just continue all of that up with some black and brown. Just fill in this entire area. Another good thing about this, so I got that on the outside. Once you go to wipe it off, the oil stay wet enough that you just come back and take that off. And then what I'm using here is just a standard microfiber cloth. Just cut into small squares. Just make sure if you do that, vacuum off all the little fuzzies off the side, and that'll keep those out of your paint. Then you can just continue around all the zones that would have oil, dirt, grime. Again, this is just the first layer. So once you get this done and then this dries, or I've got another trick I can show you, then you can go back in and do another layer, and it doesn't take the previous layer off like the water-based paints. The oils will stay there once they're dry. Then you can just stack layer upon top layer to get your different effects and different colors. Again, just following with the same technique, same colors. Mix different browns, and don't just use black. Mix your browns and your greens so that you get that appearance of different color. So like in that zone, I wiped a little bit too much out. Add a little more. And so you can see how that looks too straight. It looks perfect almost. So just come back in, either add a little bit more or take some out in some different zones. You always want to, which I didn't do really on this one, is start at your highest point, especially with using oils. Because if not, like when I was working in this zone, I wiped off that zone there. So if you start at your top point, go down, you won't have that issue. Again, with this one, you can use more green in that zone. It's probably not showing up because of the light, but you can see it a little more in person. And then add the brown. And some black. And as far as the brushes go, I'm just using just a cheap set of brushes from, I think I got these off Amazon. Just some oil, soft oil brushes. Earlier, I wiped a little of that off, so we'll put a little back. And then I would think you would want a little bit wider in these areas because it would pool out of that zone. Okay, so that's kind of a tutorial on that side of applying the paint. So you can either let that dry, which oil-based paints can take several days to a week to dry, depending on how thick you put them on. Put them as thin as this, it should be dry in a couple of days. But what I found from a couple of friends is that you can use this Krylon matte finish, and most of the time you'll find this at Michael's in the oil section where they actually sell the oil paints, and I've also found it at Lowe's. I think carries this, except not in this area. So then basically just take and just dust it with, don't spray it solid, because you can actually, depend on the paint you use, like if you use Rust-Oleum and you apply the Krylon too thick, you'll actually burn the Rust-Oleum and cause it to bubble up. So I use the matte finish because for one, you can just kind of spray it and dust it on there, and it doesn't look spotty like it would if you're doing a clear coat on it. And then usually within 5 minutes or so, you're ready to apply your next color, which works out really well if you're trying to get it done quickly. All right, so I hope this helps. I'll try to do another tutorial once I get past this stage on what I'm going to do to actually darken the surface. This is going to end up being more of an orange color once finished instead of yellow. And we'll go through that phase. All right, happy building.